Society conversations of investments, equities, bottom lines. She invested in her children, her grandchildren, in the seventh generation to come. Mother Earth was not a commodity, but her relation. First, people relate, not control. She invested in clean water, in planting, protecting the two-leggeds, the four-leggeds, the winged ones, the fish people, the standing people, the ones who slithered or crawled. She invested in protecting, nurturing, respecting what was left after the carnage of speculation. The shine of her long Indian hair created a circle of beauty, a circle of respect for all relations, all relations. Her dark bronze skin, a magnet to those of equal steel. Around Dan's heartbeat. Her feet danced the drumbeat. The iron in me reached out to hold her hand. I too had never been comfortable with the language of speculation, a word that masked a great furtive wrong, enslaving many in bottomless misery. I reached out and she took my hand. She taught me how to breathe. Breathe in, breathe out. Can we all breathe? Breathe in, breathe out. She taught me to invest in protecting Russian River redwoods, as well as protecting the mountains and the rivers and the seas. The ancient way of sharing the walk of equanimity, having a slow fuse. The walk of peace. From ancestor to ancestor, to her, to me, to you. Welcome to Second Sunday Jimmy Poetry. If you love Alfred Williams like I do right now, can we give him some love, please? Now it's online. I guess everybody got, after a half hour, they figured that we went to a cake party or something. But we love them wherever they are. And let's do some housekeeping. If you need to go to the restroom, it's right back here. This is now no longer a restroom on the right. It's a storage room. Please don't go in there. And so it's, what do you call that when it's gender, everybody? Gender neutral. Gender neutral. Okay, we want to be politically correct today. If you are interested in reading your poetry today, the sign-up list is right over there. It's got a pin on it. We'd love to hear your poetry. If you're a poet, you have 5 minutes or 2 poems. And if you're a musician, we love musicians to be here. You have 2 songs or 10 minutes. And we have a really nice tradition here of people that are reading, and they understand that there's people waiting to read. So please, 2 short poems or 5 minutes, and be respectful of the people that are waiting to read. Can we give some love again for Joe Malash and Michael Clam, our features? They're both here. And Michael Clam has half the clan here. It's always good to see them. Is that my little visual artist you got there? Look how big she is now. So you're so beautiful. All right, I see beauty from your mom and your dad. All right. Well, let's go ahead and we'll get started with our first poems for today. Again, if you will avail yourself to the best deli in La Mesa, and there's Frank Moody, the owner, right over there. We have a new feature today on our stage. We have this little sign I got. I bought this. I took myself to San Francisco for my birthday in January. And this is in the Beach Poetry Museum. It says, "We welcome all races, all countries of origin, all sexual orientations, all genders, all abilities. We stand with you. You are safe here." And we can't really say that when we walk out the door anymore, which is sad about our country, sad about San Diego. But we ask you to be aware of how my partner, Jimmy Collins, He was the Black Panther back in the day in Indianapolis. He would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and he would cook breakfast for children that were going to go to school hungry. The Black Panthers, back in the day, in 15 cities, they fed, in 9 cities, when they were at the height of their power, they fed 15,000 children of all races, all cultures. They were going to go to school hungry. Our government should have been doing that, especially in the inner city. And when he asked me to do this with him, I said, "Oh, I don't want to deal with all those personalities. No." And he said, "Listen, man, we're hungry for community." And so he died after about 1.5 years. He, what we say on the reservation is he crossed over to the other side where he can paint and write poetry all day. And his spirit is with it. That's one of his paintings right there. And his spirit is with us today. So all are welcome today. This gentleman is going to be with us on on June the 4th, 5 days before that next election. And he is with the Revolutionary Poets Brigade. And as you can see, we're in solidarity with the Revolutionary Poets Brigade, the Tijuana San Diego Revolutionary Poets Brigade, because in 2016, some of us said, "Whoa, what's being said about Mexico? You increase the strength of your borders with friendship, with respect, not with militarization and racism." So we went down to Tijuana to Sucut, which is the cultural center. And we said to the audience, if there's any Mexican people that would like to join us and be part of the San Diego Tijuana Revolutionary Poets Brigade, 5 poets came up after the reading, and 2 of them are still with us. Pilar Rodriguez Aranda and Herrero Navarro. And they have a bookstore in Tijuana, and they'll be with us on June the 4th too. We're going to do voter education. We're going to have poetry, and we'll probably have some speakers to talk about the election. And thanks to Alfred, we will be on Zoom. We'll be doing that. We will, won't we? Okay. This was the Poet Laureate of San Diego. Excuse me. He was the beat poet of San Diego, the beat poet of California, and then the beat poet of the United States. We never know if he's going to read outside and shout at us, or he's going to come up to the microphone. And don't ask him to drink decaf. This is Chris Vanoy.
A couple of sad love poems. One's called Silent Afternoon. I started to say something, but you looked away, lost in your own world of monsters and bad dreams. So I let the silence sit on the windowsill, wishing that we could dance as the moots of dust dance to music we cannot hear. Like stone, our statued figures clung, half buried in the past, their hands still gripping the soil, feathered with living grasses that you saved and watered with tears. I asked you to leave it behind in the crying days where it belonged. I said, come with me now, see how I've changed. But the mud still clung to my shoes, and I tracked it into this house of ghosts. The carpets hid indiscretions that lay silent but did not sleep. I started to say something, but looked away instead. Just a song. It's just a song we learned to sing a long time ago. The tune was lost in shuffling feet days and baby crying nights and long, passionate rolling moments that churned our feelings to a frothy foam, bringing us here where words are spoken harshly and hurt is a dull pain that we keep well hid in silence. Like a symphony movement, our feelings change from violin to flute to oboe and French horn, finding the winter in us. You coveted a perfect world, wondering why love did not grow there, as I jingle, jangle, juggled my own inner hell that made you cry. It was just a song I learned to sing.
You want to say anything about the project you told me about to the audience?
Still working on it.
Okay, you want to do that? And then, anything you want to say about your books you have for sale?
$5.
Succinct words. Thanks for coming, man.
You didn't even use your 5 minutes.
So Anya, you might like this poet, because I like him a lot. Sometimes he has images where if you're a visual artist, you kind of feel at home with this man. And he's been away from us a lot because of the COVID, and we're glad he's back. This is Alistair MacLeod.
I don't know if I might sneak into 10 minutes, so I'm gonna sing something. Let's see, just pull the plug on me if I go too long. Well, first, it's just wonderful to be back here. So glad to see all of you. Now, one of the interesting things I find out when I prepare for this is I find myself going into where the music of the world really came from. When I say the music of the world, I mean poetry. And so I did not know, for example, that Mother's Day originated with Juliet Ward Howe, who wrote the Battle Hymn of the Republic. She was an abolitionist and a pacifist. She was horrified by the carnage of the Civil War and then the Franco-Prussian War, which I know nothing about. And she started Mother's Peace Day. That was the beginning of Mother's Day. Who knew? So now I have a brief poem. I used to think that it was not right to be too political. Here, take that one up. All right, you ready for this? All right. I've been rode and I've been weighted. I've been leaked. I've been invaded. I've been punked. I've been dissuaded till I'm just plumb tuckered out. Leave my womb alone, I say. Leave my womb alone. What do you know about mother?
Yes. All right.
Next item is a song. That's my only original piece. This is a song we all know, but it's relationship to the event. We've all got your little image out there to get you right in front of mine, right now. So this is a slave song. It's about children being ripped from their mother's arms, which is still going on, or was at the border, still going on in Ukraine. I mean, it's not news. I mean, it's not old news anymore, right? Sometimes I feel like a mother's child. Sometimes I feel like a mother's child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child, a long way from my home, a long way from my home. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost done. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost done. Sometimes I feel like I'm almost done. A long way from home, a long, long way from my home. Right? That's that one. Yeah. Another song that you all know very well, but may very well not know what I'm about to tell you. Paul McCartney described himself as a very troubled young man at the age of 24. His mother had died of cancer when he was 14. He had a dream at the age of 24, in which his mother came to him and gave him comfort. Let it be, she said. It's going to be okay. His mother's name was Mary. Mary Patricia McCartney. When he woke up, he wrote the song you know. When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be, let it be. And when the broken-hearted people living in the world agree, there will be an answer, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be, let it be. I wake up to the sound of music, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be.
Did you all just get really calm like I just did?
Yeah.
That calmed me down. I ran all those red lights to get my computer here. And I can get it. Can we give him some more love, please? Anya, I think you're gonna like this guy too. He's been teaching high school history since I had hair. He's really a good teacher, and I think he likes young visual artists like you. Am I making you nervous at all because I'm talking to you? See, Dad, make him stop talking to me. Chris Ernest Nelson, give him some love.
Thank you, Jim. I highly approve of visual artists. As always, it's difficult to decide where to go with the poems. When I get here, I have to change my mind often. Today, I'm going to read Clouds. I'm Chris Ernest Nelson, and this is Clouds. When he was just an ambling boy, he passed many an endless afternoon on his back in the low grass, looking up at the whimsical sky, where blushing clouds touched each other with reaching raptures, revolving in such waves as mirrored his senses and made a mockery of responsibilities. He watched how the reeling leviathans embraced, and he saw how they wantonly tumbled together, mounting or falling upon one another, and then up and over again the other way, rolling with the wind, with gushing sighs and lascivious laughter, with such abandon as befits abounding beings. He learned from the clouds to make his own songs in his languid musings. He discovered secrets and vast regions of adventure in the reaching skies. And as the earth at his back rumbled in symphony with his companion heights, he discovered how to sing with the wind and to sweetly tremble with the grass. This is a forest dream. Exhausted he fell to the leafy floor of an enchanted wilderness tangled wood. And as he lay in an aching reverie, a dagger-skinned snake eased down from a sacramental tree, and a pale flower in her smiling mouth. While he lay detached in disquiet, she carried the blossom to him. She approached with keen purpose, gliding up his chin like a vapor, and with her black pearl eyes, she held him in a trance as she tenderly parted his pliant lips with her opal head, nudging the flower onto his tingling tongue. Then she gracefully withdrew. Still he lay in deep forest silence, his eyes alive to piercing wonder. The shrinking sun flash danced upon the dark sky canopy that waved it off with disregard and beckoned the night approach, while a whispering wind to willing sprites chanted a shamanic summons. A night where the stars shunned the distant sky and raced lilting among the stirring trees, where curious timid things peered out from every shadow, gathering as if called to an orchid festival, to silently witness as spirits danced and sang their magic songs. All the living things of the forest leaned toward his radiant heart as it beat like a thunder drum. The whole assembly moved to its rhythm. The jaguar and the owl paused in their lonely hunt to wonder at the dazzling man, who without flames flickered with winking sparks. All night long, ghosts came and went. Hunger and thirst did not call for food nor water to feed his body. Rather, his ravenous soul feasted on terrors and delights that understood better than he his unnamed fears and untamed desires. He woke with the first appearing light, though he never really slept that night. Thank you.
Get some more love for Chris, please. And I see over on our writer's table that he has bought a copy of his book. So, when this is all over, today we hang out. If you want to talk to a poet about their influences or how they write or something, please stay with us. Get some more coffee or something else to eat. But we just kind of hang out because Jimmy Collins was real adamant about how we needed to create community, and we support our artists. That's why that table is there. So if you want to support one of our poets, please do. I say happy, you say Mother's Day. Happy?
Mother's Day.
Happy?
Mother's Day.
I say happy Mother's Day, you say Janice Alper. Happy Mother's Day.
Janice Alper.
Happy Mother's Day.
Janice Alper.
Happy Mother's Day.
Janice Alper.
And this is Janice Alper.
Thank you, that was really lovely. Yes, you have to get it down. My God, now everybody knows who I am. I have two poems about my mother, who died 2 weeks before her 68th birthday. I had 18 plus about 5 months to go to make it to 100 and make my kids miserable. So I've outlived her, but she permeates my life. And here's the first one. And it's going to appear in A Year in Ink, San Diego Writers Ink, that's coming out this year. My mother's hands. A soft pencil moistened on her tongue, add up a column of numbers on a brown grocery bag. My mother's hands, fingers calloused, from packing groceries, lugging cartons across the floor, counting out change. Over the wash tub, scrubbing, dirt from shirts and sheets. My mother's hands, wet with soap, up and down the washboard, wringing, twisting, droplets of dreams. My mother's hands knit sweaters, held books that she read to me, to her grandchildren, hugged me, caressed my babies. Softened with age, my mother's hands, always busy, at last reposed in death. This is a copy of my book. It's on the table. Anyway, self-published before the pandemic, so it's here. Oops, I'll get it. This, I frequently turn to my tradition, and this tells a story from my tradition. So bear with me. Sorry, one page. It's called Kaddish for my mother. Yit Gadal Yit Gadash Shmei Rabbah. Exalted and holy is your name. I say Kaddish for you, mother, at appointed times of the year. The anniversary of your death, at the end of festivals. It's not you I mourn lost years, time that could have been. Once you were my whole world. I snuggled near you when you read to me in bed, smelled the chamomile of your shampoo, felt the warmth of your dark skin when we walked together. One day you became a shadow to me. I had to share you with others, my brother, dad, the rest of the world. You were too busy for me. You praised me to others, never to my face. Your shadow lengthened, then you came to me, alone, widowed, mournful, and I reached for you, the shadow ephemeral, remote, fleeting. I weep for the missing years, never recaptured. I see your face, which is my face, your voice, which whispers in my ear. Your words reverberate in my head. I am you, reincarnated. Yit Gadal, Yit Gadash, great and exalted. The Kaddish prayer celebrates life with all its fragments, never just judging, just reminded me to remember. Thank you very much.
Thank you. She's been coming to my classes at San Diego Writers Inc. again since I had hair, and she sets a tone for the class when she reads, as she set a tone for us today. Can we give her some more love, please? Well, Anya's father is here today to read,
Yay.
and Emma's father is here. That's the same person. And if you really want a really amazing book, Emma and the Buddha Frog is right over there on the table. And please purchase some literature from him, and he'll sign it for you. And then he'll engage you in a very astute conversation. He's well read. And on top of all that stuff I just said, he's a surfer. And so I want to say outside. And I want to say that Michael Clem organizes and hosts the Poetry and Art Series, which began in 2001 and features acclaimed musicians, dancers, visual artists, and poets. Clem has published 5 books of poetry, translated Mouthfuls of Red Confetti and The Hunt for God's Skull. What a title. And a collection of poems by Miguel Barbosa. He edited A Year in Ink, Volume 6 of the San Diego Writers Inc. anthology. Michael's book, Emma and the Buddha Frog, Kuna Press, was a San Diego Book Award finalist. His publishers are Puna Press and Garden Oak Press. He lives in San Diego with his wife Jennifer. That's her right. And his children, Emma, Henry, and Anya. This is Michael Clem. Give him some love. Too.
Hi, everybody. Jim, thank you so much for inviting me. Joe, for letting me open for you. That's the way I see it. You're a mentor and an inspiration to me. Joe's written a wonderful book about his wife, Patsy, and I'm looking forward to you reading today, too. All the folks in here, thanks for coming out. Mother's Day, Jennifer, I love you very much. Happy Mother's Day. I'm going to read a lot of poems about you right now. And all the moms, including my mom, all the way over in Ireland, in Strabane. I'm going to read a couple poems from Anything for a Dull Moment, that's the new book, and then I'll read some new stuff, and then a couple poems from the other books, and then Joe will be on the slide. Okay, for Mother's Day, the first poem I'm going to read is from Anything for a Dull Moment, Garden Oak Press. And like Jim said, if you buy this, you get some of the doodles and drawings that I was doing around the time that I was writing the poems, or doodles and drawings that just go with poetry. So generally speaking, the best approach to having a successful marriage, in my case, is to stay out of the way. So I'd like to read this poem to start. It's called Rest for the Wicked. Today, Jennifer, I would like to usher in the apocalypse, but I'm just not feeling up to it. And the sofa right now glides through heaven and earth like a bed of feather down plucked from the thighs of chubby angels exclusively for me. I should mow the lawn, empty the trash, replace the toilet seats, do the dishes. For you, I should tear down this horrible world, squash a few righteous haters in their bloody hats and filthy boots, resist. However, my dearest love, a good long nap is calling, and my lazy heart must rest. Smile, my queen, and remember, these drifting eyes will see nothing unfair today. And in my temporary absence, you will be free. So we're here on Mother's Day, so thanks for coming out, Pie. But that was great. We went to a movie midweek, right? Emma took care of Anya for a bit, and we went to a movie. We saw Everything Everywhere All at Once. This is a movie that all at once explains quantum theory and relationships, like relationships between mothers and daughters. It's incredible. And I wrote a haiku. There's a haiku for Jennifer. This haiku is called Multiverse Schmultiverse. Haiku for Mom. Woke up by your side, comfy in bed together, drifted back to sleep. Yes. Multiverse Schmultiverse. All right, and again for Mother's Day. This is called Pandemic Superhero. Jennifer carried us all. Wife, mentor, referee, the voice of reason. Goddess of games and snacks, all-star poker player, expert snacker of taco, cat, goat, cheese, pizza. Chauffeur, master chef, shoulder to cry on, friend to rely on, bedtime reader of epic tales, crafting queen, junk journal savant, mom. This is called Gush. Mother's Day. Gush. Gush, definition number 1. To flow out in a rapid and plentiful way, often suddenly. I am the breakwater built for your tsunami, the rocks that grip your pumping shore. The surfer sliding into swell after swell of your pulsing lips, your rolling hips, your liquid curls. If waves were poems, I'd be the page that catches the words, that drop from inspiration to creation, that flows from head to heart to fingertips to tongue gush. Definition number 2. To speak or write with effusive enthusiasm. Your eyes make me gush. Your artist mind makes me gush. Your shoulders, your neck, that galaxy between neck and shoulder, that infinitesimally small yet seismic sea wave spot in the middle of your back makes me gush. A gush that no melting mountain, no quaking earth, no conjuring creator, no storybook goddess, no apocalyptic Jupiter could possibly unleash gush. The synonyms alone. Surge, burst, spout, spurt, rush, pour, spill, cascade, flood, flow, emanate. Enthuse, effuse, rave, rhapsodize, wax lyrical. If it were possible, if there could be a one-word poem to define us, it would be gush. This is one about our son, about Henry. During COVID, he was a little bit difficult because he just couldn't stand to be away from his friends. So this is called Closure in the COVID Octagon. My 17-year-old son, Henry, couldn't stand being away from his friends. And we fought and fought as he smuggled them in late at night and slipped them out early. Oh, how we fought and fought, like science fights misguided faith, like the immune system fights an invader, like a parent fights with the past, and the past fights with the possibility that the kids will become just like their parents. And another one here from Anything for a Dull Moment. This is on Garden Oak Press, the same publishing company as Joe's book, which you'll be checking out in just a minute here. Let me see, what did I choose? How about one about my dad for Mother's Day? Here's a short one from my dad. I'm like my dad in a lot of ways, but in this way I'm not so much. It's called Touring Ireland with Me Da. Dad won't let me drive, says it's unsafe. Yet he has a death wish on the road. He tailgates like he's blind, hits the brakes like death is throwing darts at his head. Nowhere to go, but grip me arse into the seat and pray. And so there's the zoo, there's my dad as a pirate. Right there, this is how I see him driving. Yar, it says. Here's one for Anya Clam. And then the image here is a graffiti style Anya and her riding across it all shining in gold. This is called Boarding with Anya Clam. We SGP the base. Anya glides by on a stand-up paddleboard, elegant as a pelican ruling the water. I trail behind, sliding over the amber, the sunrise diamonds, proud Papa. As San Diego Bay awakens, I follow Anya into the morning sun. By the way, thank you for making it a big part of the intro that I'm a surfer. I love that, you know. I love every day I get up and I jump in the water, you know. Gets me started for sure. All right, and then the rest of the book, if you buy it, it has a bunch of posters and artwork that we made as a family for the shows there at San Diego Art Institute around town. Every image comes with a haiku that was written specifically for the poster. This first one, the poster is a feature where we had Carla Cordero and Natasha Hooper, who both started as slam poets, and they're both incredible, very strong voices, and just can really engage an audience. The haiku is called Fire. Poet girls step up. Vocal fuego, heart and soul. Take no prisoners. And then here's another haiku. A lot of what I've done in terms of organizing and getting people together to read poems and share their stuff at the mic, it was because of Steve Cowett. Steve Cowett was a big inspiration to me. But Steve notoriously showed up looking like he was not doing a show, but ready to watch TV on the couch. This is called Steve Got All Dressed Up for the Show. I point to Cowett's sandwich stains on his sweatshirt. We laugh like two fools. And then the image is this is more me as a robot bringing over a cocktail. We used to do a lot of events where we had food and drink, and sometimes catered from places around town. And then one more, here we go. For San Diego State, SDSU, the MFA program and the interns that really pump out some great writers. The image is there, so you can check it out if you get the book. And this haiku is called Go SD Poetry. MFA poets, with so much talent and drive, hope for the future.
All right.
Shaking, I'm over caffeinated or something. Am I pacing okay? Everybody with me? Yeah. All right. I'm gonna read a couple from The Cheapest Flight to Paradise. Just got brand new ones the other day. Cheapest Flight to Paradise. This is a Puna Press book, Ted Washington joint, if you will. And the first one I'm gonna read. Go back to Mother's Day. This is called Sternhalma. You guys know what Sternhalma is? It's a German word that means Chinese checkers. Yeah, Sternhalma. In the beginning, that big star board, the marbles on it, was the original Chinese checkers. All right, this is for Jennifer. When Jennifer beat her mom for the first time at Chinese checkers, it was the sweetest victory because mom did not ever hold back. She played to win. No free rides, no touchy-feely, no poor sweet baby, just loss after loss, building to that moment when Jennifer looked up from the board beaming. And oh, how the student had defeated the master. Oh, how the daughter had finally schooled the mother who herself, as a little girl, shined in her own first victories. Mom, who had learned and passed on the lessons and waited for this anticipated day and hoped for loss, perhaps the greatest moment of her gaming life, watching her daughter sitting across from her glowing in eternal triumph, and mom remembering herself as a child, her love of games and how time spreads out, turns slowly across the board, the rainbow star, the methodical spheres, always moving forward, always making it to home base. And both mother and daughter understanding this, getting home as quickly as you can always means victory. And another one from The Cheapest Flight to Paradise. Here, actually, here, no, another one about Henry Clan. I'll put that. This is called When to Retire a Toy. The Tonka tractor Henry used to love does not get used anymore. We took photos of it and put it up on Craigslist for $10. Nobody bought it. Now it sits on a shelf in my closet. I like it up there, retired, having survived Henry as a toddler, the human hurricane. It reminds me of him at his most innocent, beautiful and perfect and destructive and fragile. Maybe we'll keep it, pass it on to Henry's own kids, our grandchildren. Wouldn't it be divine to die old after years of playing with our children's children? I hope Henry becomes a father and holds in his arms what I have held in mine. I hope he remembers the times we played, and he's silly and patient and creative and kind as a father. I wonder if I will be old and weepy watching my son play with his son. What would I give for all of us to get there. And here's a poem about aging. This is a poem about this. I think this might be about me in some way for Mother's Day. Here we go. This is called Slunky the Wonky Slinky. Slunky the Wonky Slinky. You guys all know what Slinky is, right? That's not like an anachronism or anything. It's a thing, yeah. All right. Okay. Slunky the Wonky Slinky. Every slinky breaks without fail, stretches too far, loses its spring. It gets stepped on and bent, can no longer worm its way magically, gracefully, step by step. But isn't that just like life? You start out made of jelly, wiggling, then something gets thrown out of whack, and suddenly you become less interesting, leaning left or tilting right, limping down the stairs. There is no promised land for the slunky, the wonky slinky, no country for old springs. Once your tube enlarges and goes wobbly, you might as well throw in the towel, be something else, no longer a majestic carpet diving snake, but a piece of art, an anachronism, an interlocking 3D loop on the shaggy canvas of the world. Which really means, in a box in the garage, next to the bowling ball and the Stairmaster. Yea, verily, there comes a time in the life of every slinky when it becomes a slunky. No need to mourn, no need to eulogize. It is what it is what it was, over and over and over, etc. ad nauseum fun for a girl and a boy. Okay, and then I'm going to jump into Emma and the Booty Frog, and I'll read the poem that Jim requested. Again, this is by Puna Press, Ted Washington. All right, what do you think? You guys pick. Tell you what. How about the Self-Help Junkie Parables or Aunt Mary's Rose Garden? You want the parables? The parables. All right. Self-Help Junkie Parables. It takes 8 minutes for the sun to get here. 8 minutes for the light to reach planet Earth. Couples kiss at sunset because the moment moves them to passion, but the ball of fire has already been down for 8 minutes. On a bus in Ireland, I saw a black garbage bag flapping in the wind in a golden yellow field. As we got closer, I realized it was 2 crows humping wildly like psychedelic bats, and the field was green. Every day you'll wake up, except for one day. Now and then you will be fulfilled, except for when you are fulfilled every day. You can rest when you're dead, unless, of course, you toss your shoes off and throw your naked ass into a comfortable spot today. You will be happy when you finish this, that, or the other, unless, of course, you start smiling before then, anytime, whenever. Heaven awaits, unless, of course, you choose to stop diminishing this life now. The Self-Help Junkie Parables by Michael Klein for Mother's Day. Let's see. That's gonna be the last one. I'm gonna read one new one and then read one more for Jen and then yeah. Good? All right, bring it, Jen. Okay, what do you guys prefer? A brand new poem, like in the last couple days? That one's called First Impressions, Second Thoughts, or Grandpa James. Which one? The new poem, brand new poem, all right. So I wrote this after viewing some artwork by Dan Manner, and the art piece is called Second Thoughts. Second Thoughts. All right. First impressions, second thoughts at Pantages, a theater up in Los Angeles. Complete stranger approaches me in line for snacks during intermission and says out of the blue that he has a faulty corpus callosum and that the lack of a stable bridge between the two hemispheres of his brain has made decision-making very difficult to say the least. He says his name is Michael, like mine, and I wonder if maybe we've met before, but I don't recognize anything about him. He tells me that as a child, his condition made school tough because teachers thought he didn't understand the questions, but he did, just in too many ways, and that in his kaleidoscope mind, even the simplest questions fractured into fractals of possible answers and second thoughts. Then he stops talking. Awkward silence fills in. I can tell that it's my turn to speak, but I have no idea what to say. So I ask him what he thinks of the show, and his eyes lock into what can only be described as a kind of window to endless paradoxes and wild loops where answers go to evaporate like black holes just before they vanish into oblivion. We quietly stare at each other for what seems an eternity until he turns and disappears into the intermission crowd. Left alone, as always, with my thoughts, I realized I should have said something else, and that I'd spend the rest of my life wondering if Michael was real or a figment of my imagination. When I reach the concession counter, I'm confronted with choices. Coffee or tea, Abba Zaba, whatchamacallit, Milky Way. The bell sounds, last call, I can't decide. Okay, and then your poem, do your poem, and then Vandal, go ahead and finish up. You have time?
Yeah, you got, how much time you got left? 4 minutes.
Okay, and did you want, did you want?
We do a
Was
couple
it
more after this one if
birthday?
you want to, Mike.
Oh, and I want to hear Joe too. Let's see. Can't remember. Okay, let's do this. Was it birthdays? No, paradise. Walking meditation, is that one? All right, walking meditation for Jane. Emma and I went to the Sunset Cliffs Natural Park today to see the spring flowers. There were 10 teen boys coming out of the canyon with paintball guns. They just played war. One of them shot a metal sign that said, "Dangerous cliffs, stay back," and left a splatter of silver paint over the word dangerous. 2 of the boys shot the ground. I imagine they were trying to kill the ground. Another fired into the trees. How easy it seems for boys to become war and to be war. Being peace, on the other hand, requires deeper thinking. Today in the Sunset Cliffs Park, the early flowers of spring defied the ugliness of a nation bred on violence. And although there was a genuine lack of human thought and contemplation in the air, peace whispered its beauty through the trees. All right, thanks for the request, Jim. Okay, last poem again from Mother's Day for Jennifer, coming out and being here and supporting me all the time. I'm lost without you. This is a poem I wrote around the time that we first met, and it's called "A Vandal of the First Water." A Vandal of the First Water. We threw seed pods at my station wagon. The right front headlight had been broken in a parallel parking incident, leaving a hole a perfect target. So we fired the pods into the light. Most of them hit the hood or the fender or the windshield and rolled out into traffic. The best ones made popping and cracking sounds on the car or under the crushing tires of the passing driver. I remember as a kid stealing the neighbor's unripe lemons and taking them to the church lot behind my house to launch them at the cars on the road. I remember hitting a station wagon and a man getting out to chase me past the church billboard. Let him who is without sin cast the first stone, all the way across the parking lot and into the field behind the rectory. I remember thinking, this guy is going to kill me. He dragged me back to his car and forced me to give him my phone number and told me, your parents will be getting a call soon, young man. I waited by the phone for a week, ready to intercept, and every time it rang, I jumped like a mental patient and raced to pick it up. He never called. It was some kind of Christian guilt torture for sure, but I found no lesson in the waiting. The next summer, my neighbor had a better yield of oranges than lemons, so I threw those at the cars with my neighbor's son. But that was over 40 years ago. Now I'm 52, and I spend lunch with my lover throwing stuff. She's a vandal of the first water. She can throw out a question or turn a phrase that will blow you right off the road, right out of your tunnels. She reminds me that a little chaos in the soul will give birth to a shining star. So almost 2 generations after the summers of lemons and oranges, I found this woman who rocks me. And I will throw the whole mountain at her car. All right, there we go. Hey, Jim, thank you so much. And Joe, so looking forward to you reading that. I love your book. Thanks, everybody.
Michael.
Want some more love from Michael Clam. You getting your money's worth? Is you having a good time?
Yeah.
Right. So when we were talking about doing this, I think we were at the big kitchen over in South Park, and it was 2010, I believe. And so we got it. Jimmy said, I have one condition, that we need to have an open mic at a Black-owned business. So can we give some more love for Frank Moody, who's the owner here? Veteran, 20 years in the Air Force, served our country for 20 years, and Jimmy wanted to be here. That's one of Jimmy's paintings. If you want to come up after we're all done and kind of check that out. Jimmy said, who's going to be our first poet? The very first second Sunday Jimmy Poetry open mic. Who do you want to get? I said, I don't know. Who do you want to get? He said, Michael Clam. So he was the first poet that read here when we started back in 2011, 2012. Yeah, Jimmy wanted him. When Jimmy Collins wanted someone to come here and read, he knew that whatever he wrote, he was inspired by, so it would inspire us. So thanks for starting us off so long ago. Appreciate it. Okay. Time's up. I was at a John Fox workshop a long time ago, and John Fox read a poem called I Don't Know that was written by our next teacher. And when I heard the end of the poem, these tears were coming up, and I just made myself breathe, because the power of the poem was about in the last days of Patsy, his wife. He was trying to comfort her, and his humanity, the helplessness and the powerlessness about watching her die was in the poem, but also his love for her that never went away. And then several years later, he walked into the Steve Cowett workshop that Steve did at the end of each month. And I met the guy that wrote the poem, and I just feel like I've got a brother. I grew up in a house full of women. I had 2 sisters, but Joe feels like a brother that I never had. He's funny as hell. He'll tell you things about when he's going to read that have nothing to do with his poem. And it's kind of like the trademark for me, where he's always reminding me not to take myself too seriously. And he'll do such things as remind me that I was in the Navy, and that's too bad because he was in the Army and just kind of those kind of things. So we share those kind of sense of humor things. But we share a veterans critique group once a month. We're on Zoom now, but before Zoom, we would meet each other's house and we would share a meal. And then we would bring poetry to critique for each other. And all the poets that are there, Vietnam veteran poets, and some of us have been published because of the feedback we give each other. Some of us have won contests, and it's just a very fruitful thing that I think he's the main part of that critique group. When I think of some things about him, I'll read to you right now. I feel just a lot of admiration for him as a poet, as a writer, and as a man. Michael Clam, Joe Balash graduated from San Diego State University. His book, Home Plate Was the Heart, and Other Stories were nominated for an American Book Award. He has received multiple nominations for the Pushcart, and his work has appeared in numerous literary journals, including the Atlanta Review. His books of poetry are The Lost Pilgrimage Poems and Landscape of a Woman and a Hummingbird. Joe will be reading from his new book, A Walk with Breast Cancer, published by Garden Oak Press this month on April 15th. And so Joe has that book. And we have another book that we put out last year in 2021, and it's called Selected Poems of Steve Cowett. And those books are all available on the table if you'd like to contribute to Joe's writing. So please, we give some love for Joe Malone.
There we go. Yeah, Jim, I would read, I don't know, but I don't know where I put it. You know, we were talking earlier today about the service. Well, I got drafted for Vietnam, and my dad took me to the overseas station, and the last thing he said to me before I got indoctrinated was, whatever you do, don't volunteer. And 20 minutes later, I volunteered 3 times. Now, I volunteered to go airborne, and then I volunteered to jump out of airplanes with Claymore mine strapped to my chest. And I ended up taking pictures, aerial photography. But that's how the Army works. But that has nothing to do with this phone. This comes from my new book about my wife. She was a Mexican lady, and after she passed away, I couldn't write for the longest time, and I started writing the alphabet poems. So I was talking to my publisher, and I said, "Yeah, I got all these alphabet poems. I don't know how to get them into the book." And he said, "Well, Joe, it's the alphabet, you know, A, B, C." Okay, this is just, C is a broken circle. C is a broken circle that a man travels when he's lost in the forest. Contemplating his situation, he realizes that under a clear sky, God becomes invisible like a rainbow. Thank you. So I'm going to be serious for a moment, a brief moment. One of the politicians I really admire is Tammy Baldwin. And she lost both her legs in Iraq.
And when you get a whole party and the president making fun of her because she lost her legs, it's no wonder that the Supreme Court would overturn Roe versus Wade. Because there's just something immoral about a party that can't recognize the sacrifices that we make. And this is called a shadow of an eye. That's when I perceived angels that awful stormy night on I-405, just before 1 a.m. Because of that storm, all the night road crews had been sent home, except for maintenance guys and inspectors like me. Standing adjacent to the entrance ramp above Cotner Court, and with the street light behind me, the shadow of a long, narrow soldier beam ran down slope across the street to the far side of which were 2 workshops closed for the night. Hoping to stay dry under the overhang, a pair of homeless veterans climbed the steps to the shop entrance and stepped under a curtain of rain running off the projection above the shop's metal doors. I watched the merciless wind driving the rain against the comrades. It was then that angels came down Cotner Court. Although I don't have proof such as a picture of their wings or a lock of their hair, I submit 2 items as evidence. Item 1, a black Audi parked. Its driver, wearing a dark slicker, approached them. After giving cash to each man, he drove away. Placing their hands in their pants pockets, they huddled together. Item 2, a maintenance truck turned into the street. It slid against the curb, causing the truck to rock. Then the angels of good fortune caused the 2 tarps to slide off the truck and onto the walk. The foreman ignored his loss and sped away. The veterans collected their spoil, erected their canopy, and shared a smoke. That night, angels traveled there. The only observer beside myself was a soldier bee. Its capital I shadow flowed down slope and under the traffic sign. Although it stood tall, blind, and alone, it witnessed the angel's warmth. So I wasn't a good soldier. I'm not gonna lie to you guys about that. And if it hadn't been for my wife's right hook, I probably wouldn't have been a good husband either. She was pretty good at that. But we were talking about how you get in trouble. And I was always in trouble, but I never did, really anything. I mean, I had it made. I had my own, as an E3, I had my own private room, and they gave me a Jeep. Although the Jeep didn't have an engine or a transmission, I had a Jeep. And every morning, I had to go to the motor pool and do a maintenance check on it. And so one morning, I filled out the form to check it out. And then I forgot to fill out the form that said I checked it back in, and I was in trouble. But I'm gonna just read this. No one thinks now. As I read about the construction of the Aqua Appia, I see a picture of a 3-tiered structure, which at a glance looks like a series of M's stacked on top of each other. Does anyone believe that M inspired the designing of the Roman aqueducts? Like them, M is composed of arcs terminated with vertical lines at the point of tangency. How the shape of the aqueducts took form is a mystery. Like the formation of the letters of the alphabet, or the surfacing of this memory about my wife. After I help her into the tub, I hang her robe on a hook. She ignores me and sinks slowly into her bath. I look at the beads of water on her brow. I observe her hair floating off her shoulder, drifting around her neck and under her chin. How gently she closes her eyes. So Jim and I were having a discussion, and he says to me, you know, what do you call the people who drink a lot of wine? And I said, Spanish. He said, no. I said, what do you call them? I said, I don't know, French? No. I said, how about the Greeks? And no. What do you call the people who drink a lot of wine? Then he goes, winos.
I'll never tell.
Yeah, okay. Let me see. This is called the homeless ark. I worked before I retired, I worked 2 years on the 405 by the Veterans Hospital up on Wilshire Avenue, where a lot of homeless vets were. Homeless ark. Under an overpass, a sleeping bag is shaped like an upside down U as it drapes over a shopping cart containing shirts, pants, boots, and bags of bottles. Dripping from the bag, water puddles, a dog drinks. A man leans against the basket. He peers through the U that he forms with his thumb and 4 fingers. He watches the rain falling outside the bridge. Do the dandelions bore him? No one dreams of inverting the bridge into an arched U-shaped vessel for the homeless. Opening his toothless mouth in a scream, he yells, you, at the traffic. And the cars pass him, slow and unstoppable. So my wife had cancer for 25 years, and she was the most popular person in the chemo. She was on chemo for 20 years. And the hard thing about going to the chemo center is sometimes people pass away. A dark day in the chemo center. Between 2 empty chairs is a window. Outside, the shadows of leaves wave on the sidewalk. In the ward, silence is cushioned by the squeak of plastic wheels on linoleum. While the pump machine hums, the nurses avoid the 2 chairs as they walk and talk like people who are calm about it all. After I return home, the image of the 2 empty chairs arrives and tells a story about mourning. I listen to an Irish guitarist and feel the dampness in the tin sounding notes. The music quiets me like a walk through the sea fog. Thinking that I'm a sentimentalist to reflect on two chairs that has followed me home like ghosts, I sit in my lazy boy. I consider the calming effect of the ocean fog and the restful sound of the guitar, whose music travels like breath through my heart. You know, my Aunt Claudie once told me not to marry until I was 40 years old. And I didn't get married till I was 38. And people thought I was a natural bachelor. But my wife saw right through everything. I mean, our first date, I took her to a restaurant and she wasn't really happy with it. So I said to her, well, Patsy, I mean, just because you went to the beauty parlor and bought a new dress doesn't mean you didn't want to go to a restaurant with sawdust on the floor. 'Cause I didn't tell you there was picnic tables and benches. So this is called a widower's mourning. Wake up, get out of bed, open the curtains, raise the shades, go to the bathroom, shave, strip down, shower, dress, take blood pressure, check blood sugar, go to the kitchen, look at pigeons, scratching, pecking, drink juice, eat cereal, make coffee, open, shut the fridge, turn on the TV, listen to the news, turn off the TV, sit on a lazy boy, read stories, move to my wife's picture, pass my hand over it. I miss rubbing her feet, miss our morning walks, wall shadows fade, the attic creaks, trying to remember. I pace room to room, look out the window, look in the mirror. Looking for something, I'm upset because I can't remember. Stand still, turn left, right, brightening the house. The day reveals the inescapable vacant distance. How much time I got? Oh, 2 minutes? Oh, 10 minutes. Sorry, I thought I was gonna get off. This is a cricket scene. During the first spring after your passing, I look out our bedroom window at the orange tree. As it blanketed our bed with the odor of its bloom, I recall the times we used to lie in this bed on weekends in the afternoon. I remember how you liked the smell of the tree's blossoms, how you liked the way the petals looked as the buds open and expose their hearts to the bees. When we were in this bed last April, the odor of the orange blossoms covered us like dew. And I said, listen, a cricket has found his way into our room. He sings to his lover who cannot find him. Now I am that cricket, and I sing to my lover who has died. I sing about my arms. They long to hold her. This is called the feast day of the guardian angels. It was almost noon when I fell asleep and swerved across the lanes to spin circle on the road's shoulder. I finished working 6 hours, 6 10-hour days in the Mojave Desert and was an hour into my drive home. Breathless from my spin out, I watched as the dust settled. Realizing I didn't crash, I whispered, "I'm alive," to my guardian angel. He had appeared at my open window, transparent as rain. He seemed composed of large drops. I tried to shake his hand, and he disappeared like raindrops on hot concrete. During breakfast, I told my wife about my accident and the sighting of my angel. Slapping her fork on the plate, she said, "If you loved me, you would have slept before you drove home. Making it home proves God loves me. Please don't. All you do is joke around," she said, glaring at the hummingbird feeder and the birds fighting with transparent wings. "I wanted to come home to you. You wanted enchiladas and beer." And she made me promise that from now on, I napped before I drove home. Later, her mother visited. I read in the living room as they cooked. Patsy told her mom that I saw my guardian angel. Her mom said, "Joe es santo." "Que no, mama," Patsy said, "es malo." And she repeated malo 7 times to describe how bad a husband I was. Then my guardian angel knocked the book from my hand. Crashing on the floor, it gave me the opportunity to pretend I'd been sleeping the whole time. So one time I come into the kitchen and my wife's cooking. She was a great cook, really good cook, good Mexican food. I wish I learned when she offered to teach me. So she's chopping onions with her favorite knife, with one of those big meat cleavers, and you can hear her going whack, 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 whack. So I go in to see if I can help her. And she turns to me with the blood of the onion dripping onto the cutting board. And she says, "Do you love me?" So I'm just gonna finish up with, I'm taking this from the Michael Clamp book of poetry. I'm gonna finish with a few haikus from the alphabet translations. Plowing. A V-shaped furrow follows a plow, lightning at twilight. And this is called mountain snow. The barn is roofless, and on the snow-covered floor, the fallen rafters form a W. Snow in a melting mood. Thank you. This isn't quite a haiku, but I'm gonna fake it, call it one. It's called Slash of Sunlight. X is partially hidden from sight by wild berry leaves. They conceal the bottom half of a woodman's old blade, which is a pale gray in a slash of sunlight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe Malash, how about some more love for Joe? Michael and Joe will be available to sign your books if you're interested in helping out with supporting the poets. And I want to thank both of you for coming today. And sorry about the Zoom one more time. Sorry about the Zoom. So we're going to go on with our next set of poets. We have 3 more to go. And wanted to also say that Joe and I have been talking about veterans in this country. And there was an article in Poets and Writers magazine on the last page about the man who is the Poets and Writers magazine liaison in California is fostering poetry online events for communities, veterans, Latino groups, African-American groups, et cetera, et cetera. And so I asked him, I said, why don't, when you get back off on vacation in June, why don't we do a poetry event once a month for veterans who are having trouble? When you get out of the service, there can be things happen to you, like you hear a fire siren and you're driving your car, you just came out of a movie and you duck down and you floor it because that fire siren, you just came back from the war zone and that fire siren means find a bunker now. And then if you're lucky, you have a friend with you that graduates, it's okay, man, we're home, we're home. That happened to me when I came back from Vietnam just once, and it didn't happen again. So we want to support our veterans that are having trouble. We want to not forget that 22 veterans in the United States are committing suicide every day. They can't come home again. So if you're a veteran, or even if you're not a veteran, stay in touch with us. If you'd like to come to what we put online to help veterans and read a poem or two, we would love to have you help us. And, you know, it's a calling. Poetry is a calling. And each of us have a calling in our own way. I happen to have a calling for Juvenile Hall. I teach there. And then San Diego Writers Inc. and some other things are going on as well. But wherever your calling is, pay attention or it will bite you if you don't express it. Definitely will bite you. So, a Navy veteran, a man who, once he started coming here, he couldn't stop. Please welcome David Legenhurst.
Thank you, Jim. I'm going to lighten it up just a little bit with a couple of short poems. First of all, I'd like to recognize my wife, Delilah. Next Saturday will mark our 56th year of marriage. I'm not sure it's going to make it, but so far. Okay, so this is called What If? What if men could get pregnant? Now that would be a real kick. Instead of laws about women, we'd be regulating their wit. I really just can't imagine men willing to give up their rights. But wait, controlling your body, not guaranteed. Ain't that a play? So if male pregnancy were true, I believe that it's given. Abortions would be free for all. Stop by your 7-Eleven. Michael, you haven't heard this poem yet. You autographed your book for me, and that caused this poem. This poem is P. So I am a poet with a lowercase p. There are worse things in life, just between you and me, like perhaps being fat, maybe losing your hair, falling down every day. Wait, I'm already there. But at least I can write. Now and then I can rhyme. And just what better way to be spending my time. Yeah. Should I share what I do with the uppercase guys? I think Igor says no. And of course, he is wise. But I say, what the hell? I'm not far from my grave, so I'll keep showing up. Your attention I crave. Now put on your best smile and pretend that I'm good. There's no harm in fibbing. I'll feel great if you would.
How about some more love for David? Too? Thank you for coming. And Mrs. L, happy Mother's Day. We love it when you're here with us. Yes. So this gentleman's been in the San Diego poetry scene since the 90s, isn't that right, Rudy? 2000. And he's definitely original. He's definitely creative. And so please be creatively applauding for Rudy G.
All right, happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
Thank you teachers, thank you all the poets, thank you everybody, thank you Spacebar, thank you World Beat Center. All right, I do a poem, I didn't bring a book. Okay, let's see if I can do it. Old poem called Trap. It's these neurological vibrations that got us all in cages, man, trapped. So catch a trolley, catch a bus. My homie's named Trust. It says get in the car and keep your mouth shut. Keep peace alive, I ask myself, what is love? Even though I already know it's God. It seems the devil's already got my life in his clutches, though, like some stainless steel rust. And life's defined through your brain, the inevitable. So when is your life visible? I mean, politics and career. Now I see clear. Don't go away from me, for you're so smooth and soft, and I'm a seductive tragedy. And I'm seeing through you, and you're all good where you are. It seems I'm the one that's fallen though, like a long-lived star who's gonna die soon. Oh, why God gotta die soon? I mean, I'm living, I'm falling, I'm dying, yo. Just growing older. And you'll be all right though, but maybe tonight you might lose your life. From your center radiates your spirit, it does glow. And the way you've been living, it does surely show. So does the way we see you speak. I spark like, yo, man, I'm on a diet, can't you tell? And you won't learn until you see. Eat sacred fruits from sacred trees. Be who you want to be and make the conscious worthwhile choice of what you're about to be. And become the self-reliant, self-compliant, self-sufficient, shining like a bright light. And there'll be a long list of people wanting to complete you and be with you. Eat some soul food. Grab a pack of smokes to kill you. Hell, maybe, baby, Chinese food. And I have the right for my pupils to dilate in this light. I have the right. The shit that's scary. I scare myself sometimes because I have the right of way, the rite of passage, the right to slowly commit suicide if I choose to. So, Mom, where are you when I feel I'm losing my soul, Mom? Where am I going to go and what am I going to do, Mom? I love you. Happy Mother's Day. And the revolutionary has words to teach me with, because the ways of living have been foul. And what am I going to do now when all I remember is whack trips, uncaring fishy lips with loose switching hips? I flow with concern, so I conserve my energy, but I don't like the spark of life when you're half guessing me, half impressing me. I can tell when you're seeing me, not feeling me. For what I'm about to do is sprout up and stand and walk this earth like a god or something. Haha, I'm thin. What a weirdo, you say. You sit back and crunch your Doritos. But where do we go from here? Because you're telling me you like this, but do I sense fear? Fear of wrong ways and wrong things. Don't spark that cigarette yet, man. My stanza soon coming to an end. I'm approaching, but where is my love? But here in my heart, as a true romantic, unlike these fanatrics with their boots made for walking, because that's just what they'll do. But one of these days, these boots are gonna walk. I'm gonna make a change and I'll change myself. So if there's anything you're doing that you don't like, then don't do it. If you feel like you're not getting anywhere, well then make a change. Grow to learn that life is what's happening while you're busy making other plans, and that perfection is a state of perpetual growth. And if the letter C equals cash, well then the Dow plus a C equals a taco, and then you eat it. But please chew carefully, because I don't want you to choke. Savor the flavor, my disclaimer, my soul, my passion, my words, my measurable life, my inevitable death. I'm trapped, I'm trapped, I'm trapped.
Only goes one way.
Okay, I should have dropped it.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Rudy. That's Rudy, give him some love, please. We are down to our last poet. And George, are you still here? George? I guess not. I guess George took off. So I do have a poem. I'll read. Oh, is George here? Oh, okay. So anyway, I want to thank you for joining with us. I do apologize to our teachers for the Zoom thing that happened again today, but we're here. That's really cool. I have a last poem I'd like to read for you. Sharon Olds grew up in an alcoholic family, as I did. My stepfather was not a very nice man. This is called After Closing Up My Mother's House. And I really like the way she writes. When I read about someone who grew up in the kind of family I had, you don't feel so much alone. You feel some understanding about what they went through, and you know they understand what you went through. So this is Sharon Olds. Happy Mother's Day. After closing up my mother's house. Last thing at dusk, I leaned out the hotel window like a seal sticking halfway out of the concave comber. It is riding. To the west, the slopes of land offshore, violet mists like isles of the blessed, seen by a child of genteel flogging, and the water looked horizontal, a shining scale balance. First thing in the morning, I leaned to the waist out into the cold dawn and rotated east toward the rim of coastal mountain, toothed with sequoia and pine. And a crow cried out in heavy vigor as he beat along the face of the hotel. And when he came to me, he shied, going up on his hind legs like a rearing stallion. All was in place. The fitted box of the planet, the tie-red sewing table town. And when the van rushed me down toward the tide flats, the sun came over the ridge to the east, its traditional direction as the parent, most of the time, dies before the child. We passed the room where she had breathed her last breath into my mouth. I could not save it. I do not know where it is, not in space, but held by the cobalt window, and I muttered what her children had shouted here. Blue window, blue window. Along the runway, wind poured through the coat of horsetail fur and terns in their skirts, fluttered above the thumbnail and crochet hook snails, and we knocked swash up, excreting fumes of carbon fern and marrow. And in the seat pocket in front of me, we were crimped, furled buds, stems bushy with fresh thorns, and her last flagon of perfume, its glass dove alighting to seize it, or lifting it up, lifting it up, lifting it up. Happy Mother's Day. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Jim.
Please come to second Sunday next month. We will be here, and be safe. Hang out and talk to our poets if you want to, but we'll see you next month.
Thank you, Jim.
You too.
tell you, then we'll think about it.